Right guys and girls, in my hands today I've got the Titleist TSi1 driver. So this is now aimed at the more moderate swingers of the club. So what I'm going to do in today's video, because I am not going to try and swing this in a moderate way, I'm going to try and reach my potential of speed, bearing in mind in this I've got a 40-gram shaft. So I'm going to hit shots with the TSi1, talk about who it's aimed at, what's the ideas around it, and I'm also going to compare it a little bit to TSi4 to show you the balance between trying to increase speed but then playing with the ideas of stability and how that will apply to you if you are a moderate swinger or not. So bear with me, don't worry that I'm not swinging this at the demographic speed. I think we can still make the point, if not make it a little clearer, by showing you the contrast in my numbers that I get. Let's show you what I mean. So TSi1, it's a big 460 head shape. It's kind of flattened, got a big saucepan-like look down at the bottom. So again, we're kind of talking along those ideas of game improvement. Now I've got the 40-gram shaft in this. They're talking around 90-mile-an-hour club head speed with the driver ideas. We will look at the tech of this driver as well. I'm sure it's got all the same TSi face designs and what have you. Let's just hit it. It feels super, super light, and it feels super, super TSi. Like that sounds and feels maybe a fraction louder than the 4, for instance, but it sounds solid. Now, I do think this is a driver that just will not get tested enough. Now, if you think about the average driving distance with males is around 220 yards. Well, 220 yards for me was swinging at around 90 miles an hour. So the average and below golfer for swing speed, don't think handicap, because you could be off any handicap and swing at different speeds. Within reason, there's parameters, but people fall outside of those. In theory, more and more people should be testing these, and I've done a few videos on this. So I'm going to try and experiment and show you the benefits of light, but also show you the pitfalls as well to help you make a better choice. Because I am going to try and hit this with speed and show you what it does to my speed, because it's quite impressive what it does to speed, but then does it come out and result in distance, the ideas. And I just think as well, this driver with the word Titleist written on it, for lots of people still doesn't make sense. I just don't think people see Titleist. They see Adam Scott, they see Justin Thomas. I don't think they see average golfers when you look at this brand. And that's all, oh, there we go. Yes, please. There is something we will talk about as we get going. And I don't think it's even that fair that this brand doesn't get associated to the more wider game of golfers or kind of players, because it's not as if they haven't been making really good product for average swing speeders for a long time. It's just I still think their whole colorway marketing, how the logo is perceived, it's so perceived as excellence more rather than say help or trying to help people go faster while offering the most stability they can at those speeds, those kind of ideas. Like, they put products in that demographic. I'm just not sure people are trying them. Where if you look at the whole TSi range now with 1 and you got a 4 and then a 2 and a 3, I think certainly the 2 and 3 are getting put into the mix more often. I think the 1 and the 4 in their demographic, the 1 in its demographic is probably getting put into the mix the least. And I would argue then that the 4 is maybe being put into the demographic the most for testers and people asking to test clubs, which I just think is such an interesting perception. Like, this club looks great, it looks TSi, but just a bigger version, nice curves, it sounds nice. Like, I feel like I can move this fast, but I feel like I'm gonna spray it a little bit going at these speeds, which will show you that data as we go. But I do think the lighter shaft, big-headed, high MOI drivers have got so much more potential to sell, I think, to so many more golfers. It maybe just isn't made for someone who's trying to go like mad smash like me. Let's have a look at the tech of this club. We'll come back as I collect a bit more data, show you the numbers. And I've also got the numbers compared to TSi4 to give you the ideas. And we're also going to take it to the course as well, which I think will really illustrate the pros and the cons. So Titleist say the TSi1 is aimed for moderate swingers, around 90 miles an hour is what they say even on their marketing. It's an ultra lightweight driver, 40 gram lighter than standard drivers, high launching mid-spin driver, deeper, more face-centered CG and increased ball speed versus TSi1. It features the ATI 425 forged face, so that's the aero grade face that they've put in all TSi models that they're very proud of. For the players of an average and who want to gain club head speed and ball speed, it's a 460 head, comes in a 9, 10 and 12 loft. Left hand loft is 10 degree. You got your normal mixture of shafts for custom fitting, which is also built around the ideas. You've got your sure fit neck as well in there, which allows you obviously to interchange the shaft and those kind of ideas. It's faster through the air, so they've enhanced the aerodynamics like all TSi models, and it's higher MOI on both axes, so that's heel, toe and high-low, which again, TSi has boasted through all the models. So it's got all the normal TSi tech, just in its lightest package. Let's show you the numbers of the club and compare it to a few I've collected with TSi4 and then take it to the course, because I think that will really highlight, like I said earlier, these pros and cons. It'll just really glare them out. So TSi1 at the top here, averaging 160 ball speed, and if you look at the TSi4, I also averaged 160 ball speed. 14 launch to 12 launch, so it's launching higher. 3.8 spin to 2.29 spin. Now, thinking of high spin as a bad thing, don't think of that. Your spin has to match your angle of attack and the speed that you put in. So there's reasons for 2.8 spin for people maximizing. You can see it's going much higher, 44 peak height to my 35 with the TSi4. Just to give you an idea, the TSi4 is obviously close to my max, 2.82 average in distance compared to 2.67. So even though the ball speeds are matched, they are certainly not matched for distance. Spin deviations, standard deviation is 359 compared to 245 revs, so slightly tighter spin deviation in the TSi4. It's these kind of ideas that we're going to really dig into on the course. And then look at the potential club head speed. Look, so this is where I think people swinging slower speeds can possibly make some gains. I'm 2 miles an hour faster, and I reckon I can crank that up, which we'll try and do on the course. So I'm not getting anything out of that extra 2 miles an hour because I'm losing stability in other places. But that's because I'm swinging at 113. If you're swinging at 90, where I flip over to actually the slower one being more stable, giving me the distance, you might find it's the other way round. You are finding it harder to control the heavier club, and you might find it easier to control the lighter club. Because in effect, you're not the opposite, but you're the other way round to me. If you're swinging down at 90 miles an hour, I go and give you, well, I've only got a 50 gram shaft in that, but the head weights will be different as well, and the stability in the head is in different places, and the stability in the neck stroke, the shaft, they have center of gravities as well. You might find it just much harder to deliver. You might find it easier as well. That's why you need to test. That's the beauty of custom fit. But I just think I play with a lot, or I have done over the years, and certainly I know as I talk to club golfers now, I would argue 60 grams is still pretty much the average shaft weight. Well, if you're swinging down at 90 miles an hour and you're not testing a 40 gram shaft, then I'd be asking some serious questions of what you're actually testing.
Hi guys, Coach Lockie here. So before Mark gets out on the golf course, let's talk about the strokes gained numbers. Now we have both the TSi4 and the TSi1 numbers here with all shots and recovery shots removed. I'll go through all of them. The TSi4 is losing against the Tour Pro on average 1.05. And if you look at the TSi1, that is losing 6.6 against the Tour Pro. Now we have narrowed the fairway, so any previous videos you have been watching, these numbers might be different to what you're used to seeing, so bear that in mind. We have narrowed the fairway because Mark is going to have to get on the golf course soon, and as good as it is hitting it as far as you can, there has to be an element of accuracy in there. And if we look at the recovery removed shots, the TS4 is gaining on a Tour Pro 0.82, very, very impressive with the narrowed fairway. And the TSi1 is also gaining, but very, very marginally, 0.06 total. You can also see the per shot numbers there as well. So quite a difference between the two there. TSi1 obviously not suited for Mark and is aimed at a different swing speed. Let's see what he does on the golf course with it on the 18th at Pebble Beach.
So let's demonstrate this on the course. So you really got this balance between extra speed that you could see me putting in there, club head speed, which might come out in ball speed, didn't on that test, I think more through the strike. I would expect to get 2 mile an hour more ball speed out of the lighter shaft, if everything being equal. But can I control how light this is and the twists and turns that are going to be happening if I just do not line up those center of gravities? Can't get a better hole than the 18th at Pebble Beach to show you this, because left is going to kill me. So I'm going to aim at the right, because there was definitely a pattern of a bit more left with this driver. And I've got the TSi4 and we'll compare them. So that's me trying to go at speed 112, but you can see what I've done. And I've hit that pretty good. I've just turned that straight away into the water. So same idea with TSi4. So this is the other end of the spectrum. This is the low spinning, maybe as stable as you can get through low spin compared to TSi1. So even though that'll have a higher MOI in the head, the MOI of the other parts of the clubs are going to shine through as well, possibly. I've hit that pretty bad toad. Like if I hit that toad with TSi1, for the speeds I'm going at, it's going to really turn. But for the speeds you're going at, you might find there's no benefit out of this, and you get the benefit of the 2 mile an hour, 3 mile an hour extra club head speed that you might get out of the other one. So there's the 2 strikes. You can see this one is the last one, which is the TSi4, compared to, well, what was a good strike that felt toey to me on TSi1. Look at the ball speed drop down because of that strike in TSi4. TSi4 loads less ball speed, 3 miles an hour, 400 revs less. It carried less, but look how much straighter it was, 15 yards left compared to 50 yards left. And we have 1 mile an hour difference in club head speed, and I think as I just get going a bit more, this will part as well. So back to TSi1. Let's try and get the speed up. I'm a little bit stiffening up. So that's a decent hit. It's 113 club, so it was faster. It's too much loft, but certainly in play and a decent drive. TSi4. Getting pretty average hit. See the difference in the flight. It's slower in the speed, but I reckon it's going to go out pretty much at the same distance, even though I didn't really hit that well. So last 2, you can see the ball speed was more with TSi1. It spun more, as you'd expect. It carried 2 yards further, but look at the total run out because the peak height is so different, 49 to 34. And here we go, we see 2 mile an hour club head speed. I reckon it's 2 to 3 mile an hour difference club head speed that I'm getting. So I think for the demographic who might want to test TSi1, and that's the point, test it. I'm not saying one of these is better or worse than the other. I know which one I feel I would swing faster, TSi1. I know which one I feel like I would hit the fairway more with and get the most distance out of, TSi4. So I'm going to sacrifice a bit of speed for stability, and that's the game. That's what you've got to be doing. If you're not testing this lighter shafts, you're not testing if you can go faster, well, at the same time, then you're not comparing the stability for those speeds. That's the point that I would like to try and really get people thinking about. It's too easy just to fall into the stock product that's in pro shops, you know, rather than actually trying to push that a little bit. Love to hear, and if post in the comments if you've tried lighter shafts and did find gains if you're swinging around 90 miles an hour. Right, one more. I'm going to try and hit these both flat out. What can we push the speeds to? There we go, got it straight. 112 speed, so not my fastest, but dead straight. A bit low on the strike. I'm going to give that one more hit. That's 262 carry. Oh, the good old days. I just feel I can push the speed of this a little faster. Starting to semi-loosen up again. Oh, there's the toe. That's going to turn, but we did get it up to 113 head. So I'm definitely able to move the head more. Splash. And then one more with TSi4 just to make the balance. Post comments down below, does it make sense what I'm trying to say? I'm not sure I'm explaining it that well. Basically, I see these tip over the balance where I need to I don't care that that goes faster if I can't keep it on the course. Where I think if you go down to the 90 mile an hour testers, it might be the other way round. You ain't going to see a difference in the turning because it's not going as fast, so you're not going to see it move as far offline. But the extra speed does just gain you 6 yards, 7 yards, 8 yards, which you might want to buy into. The other thing with a lighter club as well, if you're swinging it slower, is maybe you might be able to feel like you can deliver it a bit better. It's easier to manage. And there's loads of people out there swinging slower than 90 miles an hour, and there's probably loads of, that's a bad drive, loads of them using 60 gram shafts. Like, give yourself a chance. So if we look at the last three, obviously 2 of them were TSi1, ball speed's pretty much matching throughout all of them. Highest spin, look at the TSi4 there, which was the shortest hit, but it hit, you know, it hit target more often, didn't it? It didn't go into the left side of that water. 112, 113 to 110, it's 2 to 3 mile an hour faster. TSi1, is it something you would test? I think it's a good solid driver. I think it looks good, it feels good. It's got some good ideas for people who are swinging slower. How many people will admit that they're swinging slower and go out and test these ideas, I think is a different question because there's egos involved. But I would be interested in seeing more people test these to see if we actually do see a shift in anyone's distances over a bit of time. Or again, is it just all such small differences that the mess that we create in our data, the noise as they call it, is just too big and you can't ever really push on because we're all stuck in one, you know, measured and controlled golf club. What do you reckon? Post comments down below. I think TSi1's a pretty good effort at game improvement. Slower swinging golf club. A bit more speed if you're slower swinging. That makes sense.